Shaun, thanks for joining us as always. If we could just get started with your thoughts on tomorrow's matchup against Boston, and then we'll open it up to general questions.
Yeah, I think it'll be a similar game to last time. They're really a physical, tough opponent to break down. They really press aggressively, so they're going to make us work to find the spaces, and just about how we can like implement our style early on, like continue with the fast starts like we've been doing, and then recognizing how we can kind of dictate the tempo, manage the game, and then find those little pockets and how we can disjoint their press to be able to find it in pockets and spaces. And it's about how we kind of execute in the final third. But I think it'll be a good game. It'll be physical. We'll be ready for it. We'll be up for the challenge, and it's about how we can insert our dominance early as possible.
Thanks for that, Shaun. It's Boston's first trip to Sports Illustrated Stadium in their club's history. Boston is yet to win a road match in this young season, but won its first match in its history last time out against Denver. Do you think that win gives Boston a little more motivation heading into this game, and how do you manage that on the Gotham side of things, just preparing the team for Boston for the second time this season?
Yeah, I think obviously coming off a win, always helps for the motivation and for the group. So I expect them to be pumped and up for it, and have a bit more maybe belief. Once you get that win, and the confidence is there. At the same time, but we're going to prepare the same way, whether they're winning or losing. It's really about us. Feel like we've got a good flow at the moment. We're happy with our processes. It's about how we can like evolve and develop those final bits. But it'll be a lot of the same, and just making sure we really nullify their threats. When they're getting pressed player for players, but how can we move and then look to play beyond and play in those spaces. I think it'll be a tough game for sure, and I'm sure Boston are going to be more than up for it if they can get some momentum going. So it's about us stopping that as early as possible.
Yeah. Like I said, if anybody has any questions for Shaun, you can utilize the raise hand function on Zoom, and we'll be sure to call on you. Shaun, right on cue.
Good afternoon, Shaun. Can you take us through where the club was from when you had that moment where you had that goalless drought for some of the earlier matches in the season? Can you take us through the progression from to where they were then to where they are now, and what have been the little details that have been working for you lately on this winning streak?
Like I said before, I think it's just narrowing that focus, like looking at what was going well and then what we really needed to improve on. So we really filtered out a lot of the stuff that we've kind of maybe didn't feel was needed, and just really focusing. Okay, these are the areas that we want to hit. Like we wanted to get people in those goal scoring zones. The T zone, getting around the box and then making sure that we was able to reapply the pressure, not just like another attack shot and then it was finished. It's like once we're getting into the opposite half, like really making sure we make the right decision. Can we find the opposite side to able to exploit, overloads on their weak side? And I think, it's always just like a switch, a confidence thing. As soon as one goes in and now the team kind of feel more confident, there's more hungry to, repeat that action, score more goals, and it just kind of started coming together. So specifically just working on like really, how we get out of the pressure and then how we kind of sustain it and then choose the right option to be able to create the goal. And then obviously, putting the ball in the back of the net is a really big part of that. We score early and then we can kind of, own the game a bit more and dictate how we want to play. So I think it's about, how aggressive we start the game and then being able to, hopefully put the ball in the back of the net and then kind of
Having
go
Guru,
from
I'm
there.
sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, no, no.
Having Guru and Midge at wingbacks, does that change the dynamic for you just because they're attacking front-footed players, having them in those roles as attacking wingbacks?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now obviously when they're playing and it's like, how can we pick them up in positions where they've got maybe a little bit more space than they would have higher up the pitch, and now they've got the game in front of them, and these are some world-class players, and you give them time and space and we can find them, like they're able to create and see the pictures and what occurs and when. So it's like when we find on the weak side, it's like, yeah, Mitch can drive, Guro can drive, and it's like, okay, how can we get higher up in the pockets to be able to either thread it through or get the switch on? So I think this is about positioning slightly. So it's more of like a start position, but then once the game goes on, it's like, okay, you might see Guro, higher up in 11 or mid, higher up or inside. It's about kind of them kind of figuring out, okay, where's the spaces that they can occupy while still doing their defensive duty. So I think it's worked out really well. And, as a whole, the team is kind of played into that, making sure that we're set up structurally to be able to stop anything. And then it's about when we get the ball back, like being in those right positions, like being connected and close enough to have those short connections to then disjoint the team again. I think they've done really well. They've understood what it is required of them, playing in the back four. So doing their defensive duties, but then recognizing as soon as we regain the ball, like can we pick up those positions where they can hurt the opposition.
Thanks, Shaun. Next, we'll go to Anamita.
Hey Sean. So like Gotham, Boston also had a bit of a scoring slump at the beginning of the season, but in the past two games they found the back of the net 5 times. What's Gotham's plan for dealing with this newly informed attack and these informed players?
Again, it's just obviously like we prepare. We've watched the games, we've watched their clips, and we've seen the areas of strength, and we've seen the areas where we can exploit. And I think it's about making sure we dominate on the ball. We want to try and control the ball to minimize their attacking threat. If we've got the ball, then we don't have to defend as much. But at the same time, it's about recognizing how we move the ball in the areas that we want to move it. And being up for the physical challenge as well. Like it's no secret. Last game was physical, and the players know that we're ready for that. So it's making sure we win those individual duels, and making sure that we have the right cover and balance when someone's going up for a header or going for a tackle, that they've got the cover behind them, so they don't hesitate. It's like we're making sure that we go for the ball and try to win it as high as possible. And you can't stop everything. This is about making sure we minimize their main threats and attacks, and hopefully making a play a bit more predictable defensively, so we can go and regain the ball, and then obviously punish them as and where we can. I think that for the most part, it's about how we kind of control and dictate the tempo on the ball, like take the sting out of the game a little bit, really attack them early, and then try to have to dominate higher up the pitch.
Thanks, Anamita. Next, we'll go to David.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. So I have a few questions. Starting off, do we have any team news or injury updates ahead of tomorrow's fixture?
From the last game, I'm not sure. We're still waiting for some medical updates from players that are out. Got an update from Emily. She'll get an update soon, see where she's at. No, but for the most part, the roster is in a pretty good shape. We're just waiting on a couple of updates, but we should be good to go tomorrow.
6 clean sheets in 8 matches is one of the league's best defensive records. What has allowed the group to be so organized and consistent at the back?
I think it's just reinforcing, like constantly reinforcing. Even though we're doing well, like we're always looking at ways to improve. So even though we have been keeping clean sheets, we're like constantly analyzing and little 1% to be able to get better and improve. And ultimately, it's the team are buying into the way we defend. They know keeping a clean sheet is an important part of the game, and helping us win. And now with the goals that we're scoring, like it makes the game a little bit more simple, and everyone kind of understands, okay, this is the defensive structure, this is where we need to be, and then making sure we fill the roles as a win. And I feel like everyone's just kind of on the same page, they're bought in, and then ultimately when you get the ball back is when we see a little bit more of that fluidity and the rotations to be able to progress and disjoint the opposition.
And my last question, Tina has been on a minutes restriction this season, obviously following her ACL injury. Is she getting closer to being ready for a full 90 minutes?
I think so. Again, just day by day and week by week with the updates. She should be in a good place. She's building week to week. So we're really happy with her progress, and the performance and medical team are happy with her progress. So it's just really just checking in with her and seeing how she feels and what her level of comfort is to be able to push to the full 90 minutes. But each week is progressing. We're really happy with where she's at, and she's moving forward in the right direction.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Next, we'll head over to Christian.
Appreciate the time. Just had a question about Jordan Dudley. Obviously, she's been playing phenomenally this season. Rookie of the Month honors this for April. You get a chance to see her every day. I'm kind of curious to get your take on just what do you think makes her such a special player and to be able to play at this level so quickly? Is there anything you notice on the pitch when you guys are training or personality wise that you kind of go, okay, this is something that makes her, a special kind of player that can handle these kind of situations?
I mean, I think with Jordan, just her like approach to kind of everything, she's always she's a harsh critic of herself, and she sees where she's playing at now, and she knows there's another level to get to. I know when she first started a couple of games, she wasn't too happy, and then she was like, it's just building and learning the league and learning her body. I think like I always say, like she's got so many strengths, which is kind of strange. Usually, like you're tall, fast, and quick, and you run the space in her, but she can do both. She can run in behind, she can connect feet, she can combine, she can hold the ball up. And I think she's just a real threat. And the spaces that she's picking up and the spaces we're able to find her, we're just able to let her kind of flourish and do what she does. Like you've seen the last couple of weeks, the way she gets around the outside and getting in those cutback areas and those dangerous zones to be able to finish or find that final pass. I think she's just a breath of fresh air. Like she really just gets on with it. She's really pays a lot of attention. Doesn't speak much, but you ask her some questions and you figure it out. And then the players really feed off her energy, especially when she crosses the pitch. Like she knows what she wants to do. She wants to win. She wants to fight, and she wants to get better. And that's all you can ask.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. Got a couple more questions here. We'll head over to Shaun and then wrap up with Anita. Shaun?
Hey there, Shaun. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that Emily's good to go for tomorrow? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly on that and the other updates.
No, no, I'm saying the medical updates, and then hopefully they'll give us some news on where she's at. I mean, she's been back in with team training. I just don't know whether she's going to be good to go for tomorrow. We'll just find out when we had the meeting.
Okay, thanks. And then I know back in the day you were on the Tottenham staff and you had opportunities to go up against Emma Hayes' teams at Chelsea. What do you recall from those days and those memories?
I think it's always a tough game coming up against. They've had some great teams over the years, and it's always been a battle. They've got some quality players, and it's always we always just try to make sure we was organized, like try to stop their main threats. But you stop one problem and there's another one popping up. So it's just about making sure how we kind of nullify their key areas of attack. And obviously when you do get the ball, it's about making sure you're effective with it, because you turn it over, then you can be in a bit of trouble. So it's always been a difficult matchup going against Chelsea, the Chelseas over the years, and they've always had a strong team, good mentality in the way they attack and defend. So they've always been a great, and it's always a good test coming up against those teams.
But one of those main threats was obviously Guru Reitman, and now she's on your side, so it must be a great relief to you, strategizing game plans on how to make her more effective as opposed to nullifying her.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, you sign these players of these caliber, and it's like, what can they bring to the team and add to the team? And we've seen from Guro the stuff that she brings, her quality on the ball, her positioning, her understanding of the game is of the highest level. And so, bringing her in and her fitting into the team has been pretty smooth and seamless so far. So we want that to continue. And at the same time, her experience, how she can help the other players around her, I think has been really effective so far. So we're really happy to have Guro in, and obviously the experience of her, and some of the other Chelsea girls like Anne, Jess, have been and seen from different experience and coming in, and they really help the group to grow and perform.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Shaun, and we'll wrap up with one more from Anita.
Hi. So Boston likes to play with a three-back in the defense, which is a formation that Gotham doesn't see as much as a traditional four-back. What are some strategies that you're hoping to employ to break down this tougher defense?
Yeah, I think it's just not giving them the time and space to decide where we want to play the ball. It's like, can we make it predictable? Can we force it to a side that's favorable for us, and try to regain the ball in those pressure zones. It's a back three, it's a back four. Ultimately, we just look at where the areas that the players pick up with the ball. So we might be in a back three, but if that third player is a little bit wider, then for us they're in that fullback zone anyway. So then it doesn't really change too much. I think just making sure that we don't give them the time and space to be able to dictate and play into those, the two nines where they have a lot of bodies and able to hold up play and connect. So really just kind of being aggressive, making sure they don't, play to where they want to play to. Can we make it predictable, and then trying to win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible?